Peace be with you. Dear friends, welcome to Living Flame Podcast website and Facebook group. Gospel reflections for Saturday in the 7th week of Easter. Gospel taken from John chapter 21 verses 20 to 25. Jesus had already predicted what kind of death Peter is going to die. What was the prediction? The prediction was simple. In the previous verses, we know that Jesus had asked Peter 3 times, "Do you love me?" And Peter helplessly at the last moment said, the third time, "Lord, you know everything, that I love you." And Jesus replied to him, "Take care of my sheep." Taking care of the sheep itself is a kind of death for a human person. We know that how it is difficult to take care of the sheep. And that's why Peter had to undergo that kind of persecution, preaching the good news of Christ, and that would definitely result in the death of Peter as martyr. Now, coming to this question here, Peter was concerned about John. So, this is the disciple who was reclined at Jesus during the Last Supper, and he had asked Jesus, after Peter asked him to ask Jesus who is going to betray him. And then Peter says to Jesus, "What about him?" And Jesus replies very clearly, "If it is my will that he remains alive until I come back." That's the gospel passage very clearly says that there was the rumor that John would not die. Actually, Jesus did not say that he would not die. If it is my will that he lives until I come back, doesn't mean that he would not die. Dear friends, in this gospel passage, we find a very clear indication that these disciples had to go far and wide to proclaim the good news and die as martyrs. We know John went to the island of Patmos. Of course, he is the only one who did not die a martyr, but then he was vehemently preaching and teaching about the love of Christ. The whole of the gospel, John recounts those beautiful things about Jesus, his works, his miracles, and his preaching and teaching. At the end of this gospel passage, we find there are many things that Jesus did when he was on earth. And if we were to write, the books of this world wouldn't be sufficient to write all that Jesus did. That means the inexhaustible resources we can find in Jesus, the Son of God, who was with the Father, the Word of the Father, and through him everything was created. Jesus gives us tremendous encouragement through his words, through his assurance, and through his company. In the past days, we have heard how Jesus was repeatedly praying for his disciples that they may be strengthened and recommending them to Father that they may be strengthened to do their work of evangelization, to go to the whole world and proclaim the good news of Christ. Dear friends, this is a wonderful invitation to all of us. Looking at this gospel passage, we understand how we must be so enthusiastic like Peter and John in proclaiming the good news. Every day we must be at proclaiming the good news through our lives, through a good example, through our sacrifices, through the sense of forgiveness, the spirit of forgiveness, through our generosity, understanding, compassion, sharing. And thus, we will prove that we are the disciples of Christ. The words of Christ are very true. What is it that to you, if he lives until I come back, means Jesus is going to come back. And he comes to us every day through our daily activities, our words and gestures, and our relationship. Therefore, let us today, in a very special way, meditate on this gospel passage and understand how Jesus is concerned about us and how we need to be concerned about Jesus' kingdom and how we need to spread it around us. God bless you.